So Adam Johnson said new starts are up, up, up. They are up, but are they up enough?
Right.
So as you see, U.S. single-family home building accelerates in September, and this was shared with much joy and fervor. However, that's not what I mean, that is right.
Yeah.
That's not what everyone said about this same data. So now we're going to take a look. CNBC breaks it down pretty well. But there were some headlines out there that you may have seen, may have seen as a real estate agent or an industry professional, which kind of took this data and distorted it for their own purpose. All right. So let's go into the real headline. Or into, I guess, the real meat of the article here. So single family housing starts are up, but it's down according to expectations. So to quote from the article from CNBC, quote, the report from the Commerce Department on Tuesday reinforced expectations that the economy rebounded sharply in the end of the third quarter after suffering the deepest contraction in at least 73 years in the second quarter.
Whoa.
But the recovery from the COVID recession has entered a period of uncertainty with fiscal stimulus, which spurred the boost in activity last quarter depleted. So single-family home building is the largest share, and it did jump 8.5% to 1.108 million units last month. Multifamily was actually down 16.3%, which means the overall increase was only 1.9%. The economists who were
pretty good, though.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We need a lot more, but that's still
Right.
good that housing starts, even given the land, labor, and materials, even given those statistics being up, it's still good to see housing starts also going up.
Yeah.
So multifamily was down 16.3%, overall increase 1.9%. So the economist polled for the forecast, they stated that they wanted an increase of 1.457 million units. That's what they predicted that we would see. What we have after the seasonally adjusted number is only 1.415 million units. And this caused some in the media to report that, quote, housing starts did not meet expectations, further spurring, terribleness for affordability crisis in the buyers because we're not even getting close. So I just want to call to the media and say, let's stop doing that. Like, we didn't use your article for that reason. So if you happen,
Right.
Depending on how many people share stuff like this, it could get back to the people that wrote it. So if you're watching this and like, oh yeah, I totally wrote that headline, let's chill. Okay. So, but I do also want to take a look at the last two sentences of this article because I think that's pretty informative too. All right. So it says, with government money gone, growth estimates for the fourth quarter have been slashed to as low as a 3% rate above a 10% pace. What? Hang on. Let me read that again. I don't even know what this means.
Ray just, for those listening at home, Ray just face palmed, by the way.
I'm just going to read it again. With government money gone, growth estimates for the fourth quarter has been slashed to as low as a 3% rate from above a 10% pace. So I guess they had 10% and they say now it's only going to go down 3%. So it's 7% as a total growth estimate.
But that's still great, though, right?
That's still really good. All right, so let's talk about the permits, though, right? Because that's an indication of future builds.
It sounded like death is what it sounded like.
Very, very well said.
Huh.
All right, quote, permits for future home building increased 5.2% at a rate of 1.553 million units in September. Single-family home building permits rose 7.8% to a rate of 1.19 million units. So now you know. Well, I don't know what that was in my voice there. Now you know. It was like a WWF all of a sudden. Okay. So now you know why we put the housing roller coaster as the thumbnail. If you guys are just reading the headlines, you're not digging into these articles, I don't blame you because some of the articles are terrible, but take a look at some of the actual data and see what people are reporting on and then the juxtaposition.
Because the headline is like, housing starts fall to record high. What? Wait, what? Wait, so it fell but it's still at a record high. Hold on. What do I do here? I don't.
Chill will nil for the kill.
Yes,
right.
exactly. The best comment today.
Greg Taylor says, word of the day, kids, chill.
Chill. My entire existence in one word. Just chill, dude. It'll
Mike Elizabeth Rodell, which I think is probably Mike today because he said, somebody please translate.
That's some subtle shade brought to you by we don't have a sponsor.
Oh, Elizabeth, she would appreciate that. So Elizabeth says, it sounds like when a new agent tries to argue stats and numbers. Yeah, that's kind of what you're seeing is that they're saying the stats and numbers, but not really knowing or understanding the meaning behind them, the causes behind them, or how it affects the economy.
There's a lot of, going on.
Yeah. Let's see. What's the next one? All right. So let me do an aside before you get into the mortgage rates for a record low thing. Okay. Here's a quick aside. When I was little, I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Cash Flow Quadrant, and then the Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. I don't know what you think about the author, but really good books of just like kind of looking at money a different way. And one of the things I learned about the Rich Dad Guide to Investing is they talked about looking at multiple headlines throughout other industries and then within your industry to see how one thing impacts another. And I really kind of like to think of our show like that, where we're looking at multiple headlines from around the industry. We are looking at, this brokerage made this move, but this is also happening in the mortgage industry, and this is happening in the real estate industry, and this is happening in the economy as a whole, so that we can start to kind of connect the dots and have a better depiction of what may be coming in the future so that we can then help our clients with what's going on. And so that whole as soon as I was young, I started watching. I'm such a nerd saying this. I feel I feel the people being like, "Let go."
You're realizing it as you're saying.
I am, yeah. So even as a kid, I started watching multiple news outlets, multiple channels, reading multiple different kinds of news sources, papers, news groups, all that stuff. Back then, news groups was the stuff, right? You could get in an economist news group and talk to somebody that is getting their doctorate and talk to them about what they're researching and stuff. That was back in the day. Anyway, I digress. So as a young Ray, I started looking at these different news articles and what was happening, trying to piece together the puzzle. So I encourage you out there, if you're listening or watching the show, please do that. Listen to some of these articles and hear how one impacts the other, because I think you'll start to connect the dots a little bit, and then stuff won't be such a surprise. And you can start to see how the economy is reacting, how people in the economy are reacting, how consumers are reacting, what builders are doing, what lumber prices are doing, and you can start to predict what might happen in your area, and then hopefully help your clients to make better decisions about their real estate. Anyway, that was an aside.
Well, and we do that.
And a shout out to Robert Kiyosaki. So if you're watching the show, we'd love to have you on the show, Robert.
And we do that for the show anyway. We read into these things and we kind of study, and we just kind of do it independently, but it works out obviously because we have the show. But the byproduct of it is that we hope that you guys get the same out of it and start, putting all the things together. So I have a really close friend here in Rancho Cucamonga who is on the forefront of the home building. He takes essentially the raw land and gets it ready all the way through the end of the build for new construction. And it's never just this thing either negates or helps this other thing. Right. You got to follow the money. You got to follow the why. You got to follow the reason behind it. There's always something so much deeper into why this thing was, why this bill was written or why this thing was put into legislation. But it starts so harmlessly, but there's so much other stuff behind it. You got to really, 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 how do you say it, Ray? Dig down deeper. I'm trying to look for follow the red herring,
Yeah. Just put on your tinfoil hat, bro.
I know. And it seems like that a lot, but when you really follow it, especially with these local communities, local cities, local counties, specifically for me, when you're like, wait, so that was all done because that dude wanted a new Bentley. And now, my buddy can't build because of blah, blah, blah. Like it's just insane. Anyway, but we digress.